Elbit company number 02691211. That's its company number. And after it was established, the Ibrahimi Mosque massacre in 1994, the Jenin refugee camp massacre in 2002, the Gaza massacre of 2008 into 2009, the Gaza massacre of 2012, the Gaza massacre of 2014, which we know 556 children were killed in 55 days, 154 of them directly from this factory that we stand outside here today. And after that, the Gaza massacre of 2018 to 2019, the Gaza massacre of 2021, and the Gaza genocide, which began in 2023 and continues to this day. There is no ceasefire, that is a ruse. This factory has been complicit in every single one of those massacres. Thousands and thousands have been killed by this very factory that we stand here. And so I'm glad to see you here still protesting it, because we still have work to do to shut it down. Now, the head of the Geneva Academy of International Humanitarian Law, Stuart Casey Maslin, says that Gaza's population has declined by 10%. And with that, I estimated that with 10% decline, that meant that over 200,000 Palestinians have been killed, not the 72,000 that has been given out by the health ministry, that does not include those unidentified, that does not include those that have secondary deaths by starvation and disease. And it does not include the ones that have been evaporated by Elbit's drones. Now, The Guardian estimated a 280,000 figure. That is much more likely. And we know that the Lancet in 2024 estimated that 186,000 Palestinian people had been killed, and that was 2 years ago. So you can double that figure. We come back near enough to the 280,000 people killed. Now, they also acknowledged that that was a 41% underestimate, because they also didn't include the numbers of those families wiped off the civil registry, wiped clean, entire families. Right now, the highest death toll has been estimated at 680,000 people. Now, whether or not you want to take the high estimate, that was done by 2 Australian scholars who work for ARENA, and they used not just the missing people, the decline in the population, the deaths of people that had happened because of the genocide, the secondary deaths, the infections, the disease and the starvation. And out of that, 300,000 children under the age of 5. Now, Francesca Albanese, the United Nations Special Rapporteur, she quoted this figure: 300,000 children under the age of 5. God knows what the amount is over the age of 5. So now we're going to do some maths. Right, so we know that 556 children were killed in 2014, and this factory was responsible for 28% of those deaths. Now, that investigation was done by finding remnants of drones, drone parts, drone engines, bits and bobs that said not necessarily made in Shenstone, but made in Britain. We know that those drone parts came from here. That was 154 children killed by this very factory. So at the rate of 28%, that means that this factory is responsible on the high estimate for the deaths of 84,000 children. 84,000 children have been killed by this factory alone, and the police dare to protect it. 84,000 people. Now, if you want to go for the more conservative figure of 280,000, that means that this factory alone has been responsible for the death, the killing of 78,400 people. And out of that are 39,200 children. You can see why I needed my phone to remember all of these figures. Now, on top of that, thousands of Palestinians have been evaporated by these, and they're globally banned, thermobaric munitions. Now, Elbit produced these in America, and the name of them is a Magni EX, or loitering munition drone. It's produced by Elbit. Maybe this not this factory, maybe not this one here, but another Elbit. And they're all the same company, whether they're here in Britain or they're here in America. So this drone it's got a flip switch, so it can either just destroy and displace and blow up buildings, or it can actually flip the switch and become a and I can never remember the word, thermobaric munition, which evaporates bodies, leaves no evidence. And this is why the estimation that comes from ARENA is so high, because they've included those deaths, they've included those disappearances. Now, our British government have turned us into red-handed complicitors. They've made this country an impossible place to protest, an impossible place to oppose genocide. And the other day, Jackie Walker very cleverly said, and critically said, we do not have to justify opposing genocide. We do not have to justify to any court that we oppose genocide. We do not have to justify to anyone, anywhere, any police officer, anyone, that we oppose genocide, one of the worst crimes in history. We do not have to justify why we are here trying to shut this factory down. We do not. Now, this is a society now that jails young people, students, and even in Berlin yesterday, they arrested a 14-year-old for protesting the genocide. Where with this country now jails people without trial, often without charges, and keeps them and holds them in remand purely because they object to what the Israeli regime are doing and what companies like this are doing. And they also refuse to arrest war criminals, internationally recognized war criminals like Netanyahu and the others, and the soldiers that come back and go to work in our schools and the NHS after killing hundreds and hundreds of Palestinian children. This country cheerleads mass killing, and it supports the perpetrators of ethnic cleansing and apartheid. It funds foreign governments that applaud, we applaud when children are killed and entire populations are erased. It ignores the abduction of skilled Palestinian surgeons, and it ignores the execution of skilled Palestinian doctors and medics and paramedics. We've become a nation of gun runners, and we are ignoring the violations of international law to the point that international law no longer, as Richard Falk once said, exists. Because if you do not abide by international law, it no longer exists for anyone. And that is where we're at. So why is Elbit still here? It's still here because our government knew that it was going to invest and profit in genocide. It knew that it was going to aid and abet a genocide. It knew all along that it was going to be part of this Costa del Gaza, this Riviera for the elite. It knew that it was going to be complicit. It made a choice. It kept these factories open purely to make money off the back of the annihilation of an entire people. An entire people. And that is what's still happening under the guise of a ceasefire. Nearly 5 Palestinians have been killed per day. Hundreds and hundreds have been killed since this so-called ceasefire was announced. Every time you read anything, read between the lines. The whole idea is to completely annihilate Gaza, to rebuild it for the Israelis. Do you think the Palestinians will be able to use the swimming pools and the golf courses and all the hotels that they are planning? This is going to be a place full of military bunkers and military places to house and incarcerate hundreds of thousands of Palestinian survivors. Hundreds and thousands. So I just want to remind us, years ago, there was an activist that she said, one day, this place won't be here, and the people of Shenstone can walk past here without holding their heads in shame. One day, this place will sell tables and chairs like it should do. One day, this place will sell legitimate items that add to the British economy, not the Israeli economy. One day we can walk past here knowing that we did our job, but we're not there yet. We have work to do. So let's stay here. Let's keep coming back here. Let's make sure that this place does shut down. Let's fulfill her dream. And let's carry on. Free Palestine, free Gaza. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much.